Hi, it's Marjie Kemper, and today I'm working with DecoArt Media Fluid Acrylics and manila file folders. I'll make a custom set of 3 file folders in this video. I coated all 3 file folders with gesso before starting, and then started layering on paint. Once I had a base coat on each of the file folders, I started bringing in stencils and stamps. It's important to use only a small amount of paint when you're working with a stencil, otherwise you'll have the paint bleed underneath. So you can see there I used a little cosmetic sponge and squeezed some paint onto my wax paper, which is on my work surface, and then dabbed up the paint with the sponge. So you can always add more. It's much easier to add more than it is to take away anything that seeps underneath. For most of the stencils that I use, it doesn't really matter what the orientation is on the file folder, but you do want to be aware if you make this for yourself, if it matters to you. It may not matter, but if you're holding a file folder and it's, right side up, you want to make sure if you're using text or a face that it also is right side up. That'll come up later on with some other stencils I use, so I wanted to mention that. Here I'm just being sure to go ahead and cover both sides so that there's an interest on the front as well as the back. At this point, I feel like the file folders are pretty good in terms of background, and now I want to start thinking about some focal images. And for me, that means something that's going to be on top of all this color with black as the focus. So it'll either be black paint or black ink. And I've pulled out a stencil from Andy Skinner that is called Old Film, and I'm going to run that across the bottom of this one, this green folder. I'm using black archival ink there, and I used just a piece of Post-it tape to hold down the stencil so I'd get a straight line. I liked how that came out, so I decided to do it on the other 2 to sort of unify them and make them a set. My next thought was to give each of the 3 file folders some images besides that stenciled strip that would stand out. So I'm doing a little bit of stamping on this one, and I'm going to go ahead and do some stenciling on the next one. And once I was finished with the stenciling and the stamping of those images, I wanted to go ahead and grab that old film horizontal stencil again and sort of work across the tops of the file folders, kind of mimicking what was down below, but with the number portion of that stencil. It was a little bit harder than doing the gents along the bottom because it was a skinnier section of the stencil and it had the repeating lines. Also, it depended on where I was in terms of which file folder, whether I had to go across the gap on some of them, but definitely worth playing with, and I think it gave it a nice unified look in the end. Well, you saw that I finished the yellow and the green folders off with my ink blending tool on the edges. I'll go ahead and do that here on the blue one as well. And now I'm bringing in one of Andy Skinner's stencils called Strike the Pose. This is a great one. I use it often. I'm going to use black ink and make that be my standout image on this folder. To finish the file folder and seal it, I'll use matte medium, a thin coat all across the outside. I'll also finish the inside with black paint just for a nicer look. And I thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please visit me at marjiekemper.com and also visit everything available to you on the DecoArt.com website as well.